27b1. Bitesh, maybe Ralph, you'll remind me. We should try to remember to order more Gemaras. Hopefully, we're going to be finishing this volume soon. Okay, 27b1. We were discussing the machlokas, the dispute of going from one sukkah to another sukkah. That there's an opinion. Well, it'll be at 27b1, the second paragraph. My time is Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer held that you cannot go from one sukkah to another sukkah. Right? He said you got to go ahead and stay in that sukkah. You can't no sukkah hopping. One night in this sukkah, another night in the other sukkah. Right? That was the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. And the Chacham say no problem. The Chacham say you could go to multiple sukkahs. You could go in this sukkah. Tonight you could sleep in this sukkah like we do. Another night you could sleep in another sukkah. There's no problem. Right. So the Rabbi Eliezer has a pasuk. The Gemara is going to bring a source that says that you have to go ahead and be in the same sukkah. We're gonna see that's what the Gemara is going to jump on right now. Might 27b1. My time with Rabbi Eliezer. What's the reason of Rabbi Eliezer that he requires that you should be in the same sukkah? Amakra. You have it on the left side of the page. My time with Rabbi Eliezer in English. What's the reason? Amakra. The pasuk says Chag HaSukkot Ta'aseh Locha Shivat Yamim. A holiday of Sukkot you should make for yourself for 7 days. So he understands Hasei Sukkah. You need to make a sukkah haruuya l'shiva. Make a sukkah that's fit for 7 days. So he has 2 points, Rabbi Eliezer says. He says, number one, you can't go from sukkah to sukkah. And number two, he says, you can't make a sukkah during Chol Hamoed. You can't go ahead and if a person did not sit in a sukkah in the beginning of Yom Tov, for whatever reason, and now he says, you know what, it's Chol Hamoed, I should build myself a sukkah. So he says you can't make a sukkah on Chol Hamoed, because if you made a sukkah on Chol Hamoed, you did not have a 7-day sukkah. So he says you can't do that. Now, so the Gemara says, my timer. What is the reason for Rabbi Eliezer and those two halachot? So he says, he understands the pasuk Chag HaSukkot Ta'aseh Locha Shivat Yomim. So the Torah says, I want you to make a Chag HaSukkot for 7 days. So if you did not make the sukkah before the holiday, you don't have a 7-day sukkah. So that invalidates a sukkah that was not made before the holiday, and you want to make a sukkah during the holiday, you lost out the mitzvah. Like we said, according to the opinion that says Svira to Omer, you have to count. We have to count 49 days. There's an opinion that says if you miss the day, you're out. You lost the mitzvah completely. We hold you still count, let's say, without a bracha, but you lost. You didn't do what was required here is a 7-day sukkah. You didn't make a 7-day sukkah. That's the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. Also, if you go from one sukkah to another sukkah, Rashi explains, then it's not a 7-day sukkah. If you go today, if today you went to this sukkah, and tomorrow you went to another sukkah, so that's not called, means you had a 6-day sukkah, not a 7-day sukkah. You used a sukkah for 6 days, not 7 days. According to this, if let's say to go from in the same day, to go from this sukkah to another sukkah on the same day, maybe Rabbi Eliezer would hold it's not a problem, but you still use this sukkah for 7 days. Let's say every day I would go to 2 sukkot. I wonder what Rabbi Eliezer would say, because it's a 7-day sukkah. Because Rashi gives the example when the Gemara has the question, can I go from one sukkah to another sukkah? Rashi on Chav Zayin Amud Aleph says, 27a said, to eat and sleep today in this sukkah and tomorrow in another sukkah. Why didn't Rashi say to eat in the morning in this sukkah and in the night in a different sukkah? Rashi didn't give that as example. Rashi gave the example to go from this to another sukkah tomorrow, because maybe Rashi understands in the same day you go to multiple sukkot, it's not a problem, because you had this sukkah. So I wonder, that's maybe a chidush that we're saying. That's what seems to be an indication you could say, you could suggest from a sukkah for 7 days, and you use it every day of the 7 days. So if you want to go to another sukkah, well, it's still considered you made a 7-day sukkah. Right. That seems to be the indication of Rashi. What'd you say? Right. Now we're going to get to that. I mean, the only thing is the case when the person who oversees when that betroper says, he has 2 wives, one in Tiberia, one in Sipori, can I go from one sukkah to the other? Maybe Rashi says to eat and sleep today and hear this one and tomorrow on this one. Maybe Rashi was just giving that was the case, that he was going to be sleeping in this one today and the other one tomorrow, but because that happened to be the story. But the question might have been, even if it would have been in the same day, it's not clear. Okay. So, I mean, the logic that we say, what we're saying, because as long as you were in this sukkah today, maybe that's called the 7-day sukkah. That's the logic we're saying. The Chacham say you could go from one sukkah to another sukkah. And the Chacham hold you can make a sukkah Chol Hamoed. Chacham hold, if you didn't sleep in a sukkah, if you weren't in a sukkah the first 2 nights of Sukkot, you could go ahead and build a sukkah Chol Hamoed. Now, the commentaries talk about, in Chol Hamoed, there are certain types of melacha that I'm not allowed to do on Chol Hamoed. I can't build a building on Chol Hamoed. So, first of all, sukkah is unique. It's a temporary type of structure. It doesn't take much to make a sukkah. So, maybe, it's might not be it's not a real building, but they discuss it, about that issue. Okay. Now, the Gemara says, the Shavin, they both agree, She'im Nafla, Shechozu Bona B'Chol Hamoed. If the sukkah fell down, I could go ahead and rebuild the sukkah. Even though Rabbi Eliezer says you need a sukkah for 7 days, but this sukkah, it's the same sukkah. I rebuilt the sukkah. So it fell down. I could rebuild it on Chol Hamoed. My time with Rabbi Eliezer. What's the reason Rabbi Eliezer? Amakra, the pasuk says, Chag HaSukkah Taseh L'chol Shivas Yamim. Asi sukkah haruya l'shivas yamim. Make a sukkah that's fit for 7 days. And if you're not only going to use it for 6 days, it's not fit for 7. Morning, Aaron. It has to be fit for 7 days. And if you didn't build it in the beginning of the holiday, it wasn't a 7-day sukkah. Rabbanan and the Rabbanan Hachikum Rach. This is what the Torah means. They understand the pasuk like this. Asay sukkah b'chag. The Chachamim understand that the pasuk is telling you, make a sukkah any day of the holiday. Sukkah's taseh l'cha. Make a sukkah for yourself. Make sure you have a sukkah. 7 days. You should go ahead. Any of the days of the 7 days, you should go ahead and make sure you should have Asi Sukkah, that you should make a Sukkah, Chag HaSukkos Taseh L'cha. Make a sukkah for yourself that you should be able to fulfill the mitzvah during these 7 days. So if your sukkah fell down, or if you didn't build the sukkah the first few days, whatever the situation was, you have a mitzvah to make sure that you have a sukkah for the 7 days. And any time during this holiday of, if it's not when it's Chol Hamoed, you go ahead and you build a sukkah on Chol Hamoed, even though you did not sit in the sukkah before the holiday. Build the sukkah on Chol Hamoed. Say it again. Chum say no problem. The Chum say, "Asay sukkah b'chag." The pasuk is telling you, make the sukkah on during Chag HaSukkah Taseh 7 days. The 7 days of the holiday, I want you to make sure you have a sukkah. So build it before the holiday, build it during the Chol Hamoed. Your responsibility is you have a 7-day mitzvah. What's the 7-day mitzvah in the land of Israel? 7-day mitzvah is to make sure you have a sukkah. So asay sukkah b'chag. So make a sukkah any day, the way they're translating, any day of the 7 days, but not really any day. You can't do it on the Yom Tov itself. But on any day during the holiday that you're able to build, I want you to make Chag HaSukkos, make for yourself during this 7-day period. I want you to make a sukkah. Chag HaSukkos, make the holiday of Sukkos needs to be celebrated during the 7-day period. So I want you to make for yourself a sukkah to ensure that you have fulfilled the mitzvah of sukkah. Okay, so the Gemara says, the Shavim, they both agree. Even Rabbi Eliezer, who says that you have to build the sukkah that you're going to use for 7 days. You can't go ahead and I can't use my sukkah and then go to Aaron's sukkah for a night. So I have to stay in my sukkah for 7 days. But yet, if the sukkah fell down, I could go rebuild that same sukkah on Chol Hamoed. The obvious question is, if it's the same sukkah, of course I could. What's the novelty? What's the chidush that Rabbi Eliezer holds? You could rebuild the same sukkah that fell down. It's a 7-day sukkah. Because let's say the sukkah was there the first 2 days of the holiday. Then the 3rd day of the holiday, it fell down. I rebuilt it the 3rd day. I have a 7-day sukkah. So of course it's the same sukkah. I didn't go to someone else's sukkah. Shita. So the Gemara, the question is obvious. So the Gemara says, you know what? You might have thought that really, now that it fell down and they rebuilt it, it's like a new sukkah. You might have said you don't look at it as the same sukkah. It's the same sukkah that we had before. Because once it was totally taken apart and now put back up, you might have looked at it like it's not the same sukkah. It's the new one. So therefore you might have said the Eina l'Shiva. And also listen, the second sukkah is only going to, let's say you sat in this first sukkah for 3 days. Now you rebuilt it, you're sitting in sukkah for another 4 days. So you might have looked at it as two different, this is a 3-day, I had a 3-day sukkah, and now I have a 4-day sukkah. And the original sukkah was not a 7-day sukkah because it went down. So you might have said that I did not fulfill the mitzvah, according to Rabbi Eliezer, that I need to have the same sukkah, a sukkah of 7 days. But it fell down. So then we look at it, when you rebuilt it, it's a continuation of the first sukkah. We don't look at it now, it's like a new, let's say a building fell down and you put back the building. You look at that as, is it the same building, or the fact that is it, would you look at that? Let's say a building, you need a building, let's say the building needs to stand for 100 years. If it stood for 80 years and then it fell and then you rebuilt it, it's not a 100-year building. It only stood for 80 years and it came down and you rebuilt the same building. The same building, same material, same everything. But the chidush here is that even though it came down, but we're going to look at it, Kamash Malan, that since you sat in it on the Yom Tov originally, and now when you rebuilt it, we're gonna look at it. It's just as a continuation of the first Sukkah. We're not gonna look at. We're gonna look at it that this is really the original 7-day Sukkah that's just been rebuilt. So we look at it as a continuation of the first Sukkah, and then we're going to treat it like a Sukkah, a 7-day Sukkah. So that's the novelty. Now, what about if you would have rebuilt it from different materials? Then some say that if you rebuild it from different materials, then that's totally a different Sukkah. But since you built it from the same materials, that's how some understand that it's considered just a continuation of the same Sukkah. This is a 7-day Sukkah. It happened to have gone down in the middle, but it's still, we look at it as a 7-day Sukkah. Now, Tanya, Rabbi Eliezer says, כשם שאין אדם יוצא ידי חובתו ביום טוב הראשון של חברו בחג גבול של חברו, the same way you cannot fulfill your obligation the first day of the holiday by using, yesterday I think we touched on this, using someone else's lulav. I can't go over to Aaron and say, Aaron, could you lend me your lulav on the first day of the holiday? I don't have my lulav. I forgot my lulav and I forgot it at home. I went to deal and I left it at home. Can I borrow someone else's lulav on the first day of the holiday? On the Chol Hamoed, no problem, you can borrow someone else's lulav. But on the holiday itself, the halacha is you can't borrow. Aaron would have to gift it to me. He could gift it to me even with a condition to give it back to him. But the duration of the time that before I give it back, if he gift during that time that he says, I'm giving it to you as a matana, amanat lahazir. I'm giving it to you as a gift with the condition that you return it to me. That's called a gift. And therefore, I could go ahead and fulfill my obligation of lulav. The Torah says, "V'kachtem lochem b'yom harishon." It needs to be yours. The lulav has to be owned by you on the first day of the holiday. V'kachtem lochem b'yom harishon. Pre-Eitz Hadat, kapot temarim, mishalachem. It has to belong to you. Kach ein adam yotzei yedei chavoto v'sukoto shel chavero. You can't fulfill your obligation using someone else's sukkah. T'ksiv chag hasukot haseh lecha shivat yamim mishelecha. He understands that the pasuk says 7 days the sukkah should make a sukkah lecha. Why does the pasuk say lecha? There's no such thing as an extra word or extra letter. The Torah could have said the holiday of Sukkot you should make for 7 days. But the fact that it says lecha to you, that's teaching us that it has to belong to you. Lecha belong to you. And if it doesn't belong to you, you do not fulfill your obligation of the Sukkah, according to this opinion. And we mentioned yesterday that by a Sefer Torah, it says, Kitvu lachem, write for yourself a Sefer. You need to own the Sefer Torah. It's not enough that you once owned it and you gave it away and you gifted it to someone or to a shul. You should still retain ownership. Even when you're going to write a Sefer Torah, Aaron, one day, and you're going to donate it to, you're going to let the shul use it, or Rabbi Vadia Yosef writes, but don't gift it to the shul completely. Let them use it as long as they want it, or unless you ask, you want it back. But you should own the Sefer. It's yours. You still retain ownership. It says lachem, it belongs to you. So that's the idea of this opinion extends this idea to the sukkah. You need to own the sukkah. You can't borrow a sukkah. I can't go to your sukkah. Now, based on this reasoning, then this opinion would not even allow going to someone else's sukkah the same day, right? We mentioned the question according to Rabbi Eliezer, where Rabbi Eliezer said that you can't go from one sukkah to another sukkah. And our question was, yeah, but Rabbi Eliezer, good morning, Mr. Applewood. Rabbi Eliezer would hold you can't go from one sukkah to another, even if you own both sukkahs, right? But we said earlier, if I live in Manhattan and I want to go to Deal, both sukkahs belong to me, like that person had a sukkah in Sipori and Tiberia. Rabbi Eliezer says, even though you own both sukkahs, you're not borrowing a sukkah. You can't go from one sukkah. You can't go today in this sukkah, tomorrow another sukkah, because the sukkah is not a 7-day sukkah. But here it's talking about not that you're going from your sukkah to another sukkah. You're not from your sukkah of one sukkah of yours to another sukkah of yours. Here we're talking about I'm going to not my sukkah at all. Then, even the same day, if this morning I was in my sukkah, and the same day I want to go to someone else's sukkah, so here Rabbi Eliezer says I wouldn't be able to go the same day to someone else's sukkah. It could be, like we said, it's possible Rabbi Eliezer would hold the same day I could go from my sukkah to another sukkah of mine, because I use each sukkah, I use that sukkah for 7 days. But when I'm going to someone else's sukkah, Rabbi Eliezer says it's no good. I can't use someone else's sukkah at all during the holiday. Invalid. Someone else's sukkah. I'm obligated to use my sukkah. It has to be my sukkah. If I use my sukkah in the morning, I can't use anyone's during the same day. I can't use it in someone else's sukkah. I mean, the question that I had before is not even during Chalamoid. I can't. Chalamoid, I have an obligation to eat in the sukkah if I'm going to have bread. If I have a meal of bread, right? It could be that Rabbi Eliezer would hold even my own sukkah. If I have sukkahs in 2 locations, maybe I can't even go the same day from one sukkah to another. That we said it's not clear. Would Rabbi Eliezer hold that it would be invalid? If I have a sukkah, let's say I have in front of my house, I have 2 sukkot. I made 2 sukkot. I made a sukkah. For whatever reason, it works out. I have a larger sukkah to entertain a lot of people, and I have a more private sukkah. Would Rabbi Eliezer hold that I can't go the same day from my larger sukkah? I'm going to eat in the night. I'm hosting, and in the morning I'm going to and each sukkah I'm going to use for 7 days. That we said it's not clear. Could be he also would hold. It's not if you didn't use this the whole day, and you use some other sukkah the same day. Maybe he also hold it, even if it's your own sukkah. Maybe he hold it. It's a problem. We said it could go both ways. So if you use the shul, but if you use the shul sukkah according to Rabbi Eliezer, it's not your sukkah. So it should be. According to Rabbi Eliezer, it would be that should be the problem. If it's not your sukkah, see, the only question would be, right? If it's not your sukkah, Rabbi Eliezer would hold you have a problem. Again, the halacha we don't follow. In practice, we don't follow. Practice said you could go by someone else's sukkah. The whole holiday you could be a guest at someone else's house the whole holiday. You don't need to be. It doesn't have to belong to you. Rabbi Eliezer held that it has to belong to you. It would come out. Rabbi Eliezer holds it's a very personal mitzvah. It's very personal. You don't need to own your own tefillin. You could borrow tefillin. I don't recommend it. It's not so practical. The guy, every day of his life, he uses the shul's tefillin. I mean, or uses someone else's tefillin. They got credit. But lulav, the halacha is the first day of the holiday, and outside the land of Israel, the first 2 days has to belong to you. Now, so therefore, what we do is, if someone doesn't have a lulav, we gift it to them. We don't lend it to them the first day of the holiday, so that we gift it to them on the condition they'll give it back. And during the duration of the time before that it's gifted to them, it belongs to them. Yeah, 100%. You could buy one, but after the second days, you could even borrow one. I could ask you, can I borrow, Ralph, can I borrow your lulav? During Chalamoy, you could ask to borrow. Because the Torah says, Lakachtem lochem b'yom rishon. The Torah uses the word take for yourself. It means it belongs to lochem, it belongs to you. Now, that's what he says. He has a pasuk, l'cha, it has to belong to you. The Chachamim say, af al pi she'amru ein adam yosei dechavoto b'yom lo shechavero, even though it's accepted that you cannot fulfill your obligation on the first day. With the we're now, by the way, on 27b2. The Chachamim say, even though they say you cannot fulfill your obligation with the lulav of your friend, but nevertheless, you fulfill your obligation with your friend Sukkah. Every Jew, Yeshu b'Sukkot. It says every Jew, and the pasuk is written without a vav. Without a vav, but Sukkot without a vav is like one sukkah, b'sukkah. Everybody could sit in one. Everyone is able. Kol as a Yeshu b'Sukkot. Everyone could sit in one sukkah. Now, everyone sit in one sukkah. Is everyone could all of Israel? How is it possible everyone could sit in one sukkah? I mean, the way Rashi explains is everybody. If you have, let's say you have 600,000 men over the age of 20, and let's say you have children, you have other between 13 and 20, you have another, let's say another couple 100,000. So let's say you have 800,000 people in one sukkah. Now, how much does each person own in that sukkah? How much does it cost to? Well, if you divide the expenses of the sukkah, how much do you think a sukkah should cost? So each person will not have an ownership in that sukkah of the value of a putah. Each person doesn't have real ownership, something of value in that sukkah, because each person's, and therefore, because they have so little, very little ownership, yet they can all sit in that sukkah. They're all borrowing. They're all, in a certain sense, are borrowing the sukkah. The Torah is saying, and also you could say, the Torah is saying everyone, or you could say, independent of Rashi's pshat, the Torah is saying everyone is fit to sit in one sukkah. Now that one sukkah, meaning whether it belongs to everyone or whether it belongs to any individual, they could sit in that sukkah. So we see that a sukkah does not have to belong to you. It does. The Torah is not saying specifically everyone has to have their own sukkah. The Torah says everybody can be in this sukkah. Whose sukkah is it? Whether it belongs to everybody, whether it belongs, if you tell me one sukkah, it belongs to even if it belongs to an individual, one person, everyone could be in that sukkah, even though they don't own that sukkah. So we see from here, from this pasuk, if everyone could be in one sukkah, that you don't need to own the sukkah. And you can even borrow a sukkah, even the first day. So that will be the difference between a lulav and a sukkah. A lulav, you have to own the first day, the outside of Israel second day. But when it comes to the holiday of Sukkot, to be in a sukkah, everyone could be in one sukkah, anybody, one person's sukkah, everyone could borrow. I want to wish everyone a beautiful day. We'll see everybody on Monday. We look forward. Have a beautiful Shabbos. Shabbat shalom.